Schaefer.
This call is now being recorded.
Mr. Schroed.
Here. Okay, thanks, Jared. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our meeting tonight. Thank you all for coming out tonight. I do not have a board president message. Do we have anybody signed up for public comment?
No, sir.
Nobody signed up for public comment. Is there anybody from ASME, IAEA, SGA, or Stuka online tonight or here? Nothing heard.
Problem solving, sir.
Oh. Superintendent's report whenever you and Cinder are through.
Yeah.
Can I go talk to Jared about that?
Yeah, maybe ask you. I have a couple of items I want to update. I attended Constitution Day with Mrs. Brode and some members of our senior high school. Mr. Duty took over about 40 students to the IUP Constitution Day, which was a very nice ceremony. And then afterwards, they were treated to kind of a question and answer with a couple of signers of the Constitution, members of the community who dress up and really get into the Constitution Day. I really enjoyed that event. I think it was a nice educational experience for some of those kids. I also attended the United Way campaign kickoff on Friday night. We worked. The United Way, as you know, raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for the community that they invest immediately back into our community. And I sit on the board for that organization. They actually fund a lot of our paths program at the K-5. They pay for all the training and actually have developed our people as trainers for this program, so we don't have to spend a lot of money. So it's not only a donation, it's an investment in our future. It keeps paying dividends. Every time we have a new person that we bring on board, we don't have to pay someone for pay a lot of money for bringing a path trainer in. So they support us in that way. They support the East Pike Playground. They support a bunch of different activities that, throughout the community, not just here in ISD, but throughout the community. And that was a very nice event. They had a hot air balloon that was exciting. I didn't go up in it, but it looked exciting. The other thing was we started our after school program last week. So that's now active. So if any community members are interested in signing their students up for the after school program, they are provided a snack and some homework help and some fun activities. And later in the program, we'll probably be offering some targeted tutoring and intervention as well, sir. So, but that's all I have.
Okay, good enough. Ron, I don't believe is online with us tonight, so there's no solicitor report. That brings us down to Dr. Bridget Batson. Aaron has a little presentation for us this evening.
Not really a presentation, but just I'd like to say, first of all, thank you,
Microphone.
board of directors.
Oh, wait, yeah, hold up, Bridget.
Yeah.
This isn't, the microphone's not for our benefit, but for the people who are online.
Again, I would just like to first of all thank the Indiana Area School Board for what I consider a great partnership between the school district and the intermediate unit. I just feel very lucky to be in this area and in this role, serving the 11 school districts in our 2-county region. I really have seen the districts come together over the last couple years, and I feel we have a lot of smaller districts in our area, and the more we can share our resources, the more opportunities we can provide for our students in the 2-county region that will really give students equity across the counties. And, I feel like we can provide services that are more equitable to what our counterparts out in the eastern part of the state get. We all know that it's not exactly equal and the funding isn't equal, but the more we can pull together and share those resources, I think the better off we all are. I especially like to thank Indiana. We, with the 21st Century After School Program, that has been a real success. We managed that grant for the district and helped, to organize that and staff that for that after school program. Also, the autism support classrooms we run in the district, just really appreciate the partnership and support with that. I know that your folks rely on our curriculum specialists quite a bit for professional development. And we do offer, we have about 40 different offerings right now that we're offering. They're in a catalog and they're offered various times throughout the year. We're really passionate too about just, doing modeling and coaching as well, following up, coming into the classroom so subs aren't needed as much. And I always like to say, please know we're willing to customize anything that you may need as a district. If there's particular goals that you've developed as a board, as an administrative staff, just let us know. We're happy to learn with you to help you, implement that, be the boots on the ground for you to get things moving. So we really do feel like we're an extension of the districts that we serve. And the more that, we're involved, the more we know, the more we can help you. So the more long-range planning we're able to do, that's exciting and it's better. We're able to better meet your needs. I just really have welcomed Mr. Heinrich. He's been great to work with, been a great participant of our superintendent council. I personally meet with the superintendents once a month. I go to Harrisburg, meet with the Secretary of Education as well as some of the deputies, and then I bring that information back to the superintendents. I also take information back to the Pennsylvania Department of Ed as far as different mandates and initiatives that are coming down. In addition to really trying to stay in contact with our local legislators on certain, Senate and House bills that pertain to education. So please know I'm here for that as well. If there's anything in particular that you ever want me to be communicating, if you let me know, I'm happy to pass that information along. We do offer a lot of services. I'm not going to go through them tonight. I feel like this board is very familiar with our intermediate unit. I recognize all of you, and I know that you're not new to the board of directors here. So again, I really just want to thank you for your support, for your partnership, and I look forward to this school year and the future. Thank you.
Bridget, thank you very much. The one pet peeve that I have, you and I spoke of here several months ago, to take back to the Department of Education, is to update the required board training for those board members who are reelected and have served, more than one term. I think there's a lot of room for improvement there, and I'd appreciate if you'd, take that.
Well, Mr. Strick, we do have some, so we got reauthorized to continue to offer that both for the new board members as well as the board members that have been reappointed. We still have to cover topics, but we were allowed to add in some things this time. So timing, it doesn't add to the overall time, but I think there are some different things that we're able to put in there. So hopefully it helps a little. So we didn't get out of any of our requirements, but we were able to add some additional topics and things in there that I think would be more relevant to people that have been sitting board members for quite some time.
I mean, we love Jared's presentation during that last training session, but it was something that we've heard, from him for the last 10 years. So it was nice to have him there, but it didn't really add a lot from our perspective. Okay, thank you.
Sir, if I could just say something, I just want to thank Dr. Mattson for being a critical friend of mine. In my transition here, she's been great and she's very, very supportive and welcoming. And, she does a great job, helping lead us as an IU. As a multi-county IU. So thank you for everything. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Okay, thanks again, Bridget. We do appreciate it. We're down to the approval of the minutes in the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Questions, comments, or discussion on the minutes or the agenda? Nothing heard. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And motion carries. Down to board reports. The Indiana County Technology Center will have a JOC meeting tomorrow. Sue, what's going on over at Aaron other than what Bridget talked about?
We met last Tuesday, September 19th. We accepted resignations for an occupational therapist, resignation for paraprofessional, and approved 2 leaves of absences. We hired 2 paraprofessionals, 1 physical therapist, 1 occupational therapist, an accounting intern, and then several lead staff and hourly staff for our 21st century programs. We approved a change of employment, approved 2 new volunteers, approved 4 IUP student teachers and practicum students, approved supplemental salaries and staff travel, We approved several agreements and contracts. 2 that were specific for IASD were the services for Ben Franklin and East Pike Pre-K Counts students. We voted to elect the PSBA officers and approve the treasurer's report and budget.
Very good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Tammy,
No meeting.
no meeting yet. Okay, Tom, that means you're up.
Okay, we'll be quick. No meeting to report on. I have 2 motions. I'd like to take them together. I move that we accept 5.2 and 5.3 as written and submitted.
Second.
Moved in second. Questions, comments, or discussion on 5.2 or 5.3?
Just for the good of the order, 252 is to approve 2 out-of-state conferences for teachers who are stepping up to better themselves and learn more. And 5.3 is a partnership to find a way to provide some speech language services to some of our students.
Can you explain why Emily Hickson doesn't have any charges to go, to stay, to win is she on some kind of
She
scholarship?
must have gotten a scholarship or a grant of some sort because when she filled out the conference form, that trip is only going to cost us the sub. So she is, I don't know specifically what the grant or scholarship was, but you can't pass up that price, sir.
No, I congratulate. I wanted to call your attention to that because that's congratulations, Emily.
Absolutely.
Okay, any other questions, comments, or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion's carried. Cinda, looks like your turn.
Okay, we have no committee meeting report. We haven't met since last time. I will take 6.2 through 6.7 as consent items unless somebody has something they want to pull out. Okay. 6.2 is board policy number 317 that we're going to give the final approval for. 6.3 is substitute list for nurse and custodian substitutes. 6.4 is an MOU for temporary leaves of absence between the district and the teachers union. 6.5 is employment of supplemental driver's education instructor, Mr. Peter Wojtosh, as a supplemental instructor. 6.6, employment of operational junior high Eisenhower Horace Mann principal, and that would be Krista Templeton at an annual salary of $100,000. And the next one is the employment of professional personnel that would be for Kevin Staruk to be employed as a junior high BCIT teacher.
Second.
And that's it.
Okay, moved in second on 6.2 through 6.7. Questions, comments, or discussion on those items?
Just on 6.5, this supplemental is allowing Mr. Witowski to expand his driving services since we have more kids driving, signing up for driving than we had. So we're serving more of our kids.
Okay. Rob, anything you'd like to?
I would just like to highlight the fact that Ms. Krista Templeton is coming to us with some experience, several years' experience as the Northern Cambria Middle School principal. She speaks our language. She has some of the same values and principles that we have and a lot of the same goals. She comes highly recommended by everyone that we've talked to, and we're excited to add her to our team.
Congratulations.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm excited to be here.
Okay, any other?
Every board meeting.
Yeah, now the downside. You have to listen to us for 2 hours a week. A week, I said. Any other questions, comments, or discussion on these items? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, congratulations, Krista, and welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Are we applaud now, or-
Yes.
Terry, you're online. Do you want to take buildings and grounds, or do you want Tom?
I'm gonna ask Tom or Jim to do it.
Okay, Jim's online also.
Ron, you want to take it?
Well, let Tom do it then.
That's fine.
Okay, Tom, go ahead with buildings and grounds.
So, does that mean I have to do the report
Yes, sir.
And you, Terry?
You do.
We had an extensive, all hands on deck from the buildings and grounds committee talking about, a bunch of things, which I'm gonna rely on the superintendent to help me with, because I don't remember what they were.
Well, the last time was focused on the Eisenhower bids. That was what we spent most of our time on, talking about that, talking about the what the bids, how far over they came. We decided as a committee that we do not need to hold an additional Act 34 hearing, that we're comfortable with the numbers as are. We can move forward with accepting the bids tonight and get this project across the finish line.
And that was with the advice of council.
It was indeed. And the second thing was, we are also considering tonight, we had a presentation by a company out of Pittsburgh that is going to provide some preventative maintenance to our boilers across the district. So that was the other big topic of discussion that night.
Okay. We're good?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'll move 7-4, the approval of the Eisenhower bids. The board, based on recommendation of the building committee as a whole, the following bids for the Eisenhower addition or renovation project be awarded. General contract J.C. Moore and Sons, base bid of $14,481,20. Plumbing contract K&K Plumbing Company, base bid of $1,140,772. Mechanical contract Rennick Brothers Construction Company, base bid of $3,029,000. Electrical contract GM McCrossan, base bid of $2,480,585. Total of all bids is $21,130,477.
Second.
Okay, it's moved in second on 7.4. Questions, comments, or discussion on approval or accepting of the bids?
I would like to say that I'm going to vote no on this, and I think you all expect it. $21 million is a lot of taxpayer money, but based on the cuts that were made in the design of the building, we're not getting a good bang for the taxpayers' buck. We are not getting a building that is as educationally efficient as the design that was scrapped because everybody was afraid of a $32 million total. So I know you have to fix the building, but I cannot vote for the building as it is designed.
Okay, Cinda, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I'll make a comment on that. I think we went back when we shortened the building, and we got to remember, it's two classes, 4th and 5th. We went back to the administration. They said what we've done fits their program. And I think that's what we're going with. It does fit their program. We went to Latrobe. We looked at their school. For $34 million, they got 1 through 6th grade there. If we spent $34 million for two classes, 4th and 5th grade, I think we wouldn't be doing a justice to the taxpayers. I think we are going to get a very nice school. I like the construction. We went back and forth over and over with it again, and I think it's time to move forward with it. And I think people will be very pleased with the school. I would have liked to have a bigger school too. I just couldn't justify voting for $34 million.
Okay, Ron, thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, I would like to say that I'm going to support this. I was very pleased with the bidding process and think it worked out very well. And I agree with you, Ron. I think that we've talked to every constituency. We've had plenty of meetings, and we've all agreed that this is a good program for us. I think it's going to be a lovely school, and I'm very pleased that we'll be able to stay in the borough.
Good. Anybody else?
This is Terry.
Gary?
I'm going to go backwards a little bit. I guess when we started the process a couple years ago, and I agree with what Ron just said, that we did go through a very thorough process from the beginning till now. Even back a couple years ago, I'd brought up about the district possibly looking for a bigger piece of property. And there are parcels within the district. And you know, I give or I understand that that idea did not float to the top, that it was not, chosen. But because of the size of the parcel and, the way schools are built now on 5, 10 plus acre parcels so that you could have bigger playgrounds and ball fields and green space and outdoor classrooms. I just don't think the site is right now for putting this type of money into, so I'm going to vote no. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Tom, go ahead.
We've gone through an extensive review of the sites, review of the schools, community input, staff input, administration input. We went through a whole event of looking at various configurations. This is the one that boiled to the top. We looked at this board, and almost previous boards have done a tremendous amount of work to get to this point. I'd like to point out that this building now has life skills rooms, autism rooms, psychology rooms. It has a band room for over 100 people. It has a choir room for over 50, which is what we actually need. It has STEM. It has an art room in the old multi-purpose room. It has all the configurations that I think a modern school needs, and that it was sorely lacking before, and especially on the thing that I found interesting on the whole process was we tended to always focus on the number of classrooms, but there's almost 30% of the building is things that aren't primary classrooms, are support spaces with people and needs. English as a second language, outside counselors that are now have a place to be. And I think it's a model for what we need to do, certainly what we've done here at East Pike now. So I think the continuity, and sure, it'd be fun to spend $38 million, $34 million, but it's not, I think we're getting a very good product that has been vetted and reviewed and worked with through the community at a price we can afford. And I'm not making any apologies for the product that we're putting out. I'm also congratulating the architect for giving us a reasonable budget that the bids came in pretty dang close to, which is just remarkable in this bidding environment. So I'm going to support this as a culmination of gosh, I don't know, 4 years of hard work by this board. And I think we all should support it.
Well, there's one more thing I think we should bring to everybody's attention to is with these springs, the way we've been getting them in the falls that are so hot, we are getting central air conditioning in this school. And that's something that's vastly needed in all our schools. And I think that's going to be a huge improvement for the students.
Tammy, go ahead.
I'd like to say that since I've been on the board, I've seen board members come and board members go, and we're always going over and over and over all the same things. And I'd like to say I'm supporting this completely just so we could get it done and get our kids back into a school that they have their needs met. So that's it.
Thank you, Tammy. Jim, anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, so I would just kind of like to echo, going towards the end, you get all your statements taken by previous people. Thanks, Ron. But
well, ditto will work.
For the program that our staff wants to run, we are providing a very modern and adequate school. It would have been nice to have those pods, but to get those pods, we'd have to knock down every wall in that old building. And for 2 grade levels, it didn't seem proportional, because then the rest of the district is going to say, well, what about our school? And every building needs maintenance, and we have to keep that in mind, that we can't blow, $10 extra million when we have other buildings that need, and Ben Franklin comes to mind. So I am in support of this 100%. I'm excited to actually get this approval process going so we can actually start doing the work to get the kids back in the classroom.
Thanks, Jim. Sue, any comments that you'd like to make?
As you all know, I have mixed emotions. I wish we had 30-some million that we could build a new cutting edge, but to support what Tammy said, we need to get this building done, and we need to get the Eisenhower students back in a building outside of the junior high. So I will vote in support of it, but I do hope that, as Jim said, we need to consider the other buildings in the district like Ben Franklin, and we need to really be thinking about how we can modernize Ben Franklin and bring it up to standards as well.
Here, here.
We've heard from everybody except me. One of the things that I'm really excited about this building is the fact that we're going to bring both fourth and fifth grade together under one roof. And although I'm not a professional educator by any stretch of the imagination, it just seems to me logically that given the developmental stage of the students, when you've got fourth and fifth graders together, it can't help but do this and enhance the educational experience and the outcomes for those students. I've been an advocate of this from the very beginning, and I'm thrilled that we are now at a position where we can make this happen. With that being said, is there any other final comments that anybody would like to make? Okay, hearing none. Jared, can we have a roll call on this, please?
Mr. Earhart,
Yes.
Tammy Blank,
Yes.
Cinder Bird,
No.
Julia Tamarki Kukrow,
Yes.
Mr. Harley,
Yes.
Mr. Kerr,
No.
Dr. Rigg,
Yes?
Dr. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mr. Schroeder.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-2.
Okay, thank you all very much. Tom, I think we have one more motion.
Yes, motion 7.5, oil maintenance agreement. Based on the recommendation of the Building and Grounds and Transportation Committee, the board approves the boiler maintenance agreement from Huxton Mechanical as presented.
Second.
Okay, moved in second. Any questions, comments, or discussion on this?
This is where the Huxton will come in and review each boiler every year, do periodic maintenance on all the boilers. They'll do a breakdown of the boiler and put it back together. It's a tremendous amount of work as annual maintenance on these things. And the advantage to that is that this is above and beyond what our maintenance people would do or are capable of doing. Plus, it also will help us not have a boiler failure in January, which is when they always fail. So, and it also has a potential of extending the life of these boilers. These boilers are very expensive to replace and very expensive to replace in an emergency situation. So I'm all in favor of getting ahead of the problem on these boilers. So I think the building committee recommends.
Yeah, they also give us a 10% on any parts that are needed for the boiler because they're.
Okay, any other comments, questions, or discussion?
Yeah, yes. We had something in place previous to this about 2 or 3 years ago, where we're doing annual maintenance on a hourly basis with another company. That seems to have dropped off the table unbeknownst to anybody around this table. So this gets us back, gets the boilers up to snuff before winter sets in, and gets us where we have maintenance on these machines.
Okay,
That's great.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries. Julia, what's going on at Audit and Finance?
Well, we have a lot going on. Thank you, Mr. President. In addition to the exciting news about Eisenhower, we had a very extraordinarily positive meeting tonight when Jared gave us the news that we actually showed about a $1 million surplus on our budget. Now, this is not what we were expecting, was it, Jared? We weren't quite so sure about that. So when he said that, we were all delighted, to say the least. And it came with a lot of hard work from our finance department. And it's enabled us because of the way the budget, and this will be printed online, but because of the way we've broken this down between revenues and expenses, it looks like we'll be able to put into the capital projects fund about a $500,000 reserve. And that was extraordinary to me. I did not think it would happen. So I want to thank the administration and all of our employees and everybody for getting behind our efforts. Thank you, Jared, very much. So the committee is recommending, Jared, do you want to fill us in on why you think that that's a comfortable reserve for us?
I think it does two things. It helps set up capital reserve in the future to pay for capital projects across the district and upgrades that we know we're going to have, especially also, the board is focused on security as a big ticket item, and that $500,000 will help fund security improvements across the district. But it also helps increase our fund balance by another $500,000, which will be needed in future years to help balance the budget. So to me, it's a win-win on both sides.
Yeah. So there is a motion tonight, and we are recommending the $500,000 reserve. We didn't say this at the committee, but I want to say it, at this meeting. The cost for security, and of course, I keep talking about cyber school, but the cost for safety and security continue to escalate. And the contractors with whom we speak are getting better and better about their solutions. We've come a long way since we first started on these journeys with improvements. So it's getting to the point, however, where we won't be able to continue unless the state comes in and helps us with additional funding. And I want to say that so that the taxpayers understand that when you see your state legislators, you have to ask for, I would say, special grants towards all the districts in Pennsylvania to keep up with the technology that's developing. The next thing we talked about was that our revenues really swung in our favor. That's part of the reason for the surplus. So we had our earned income tax was up, what did you say, $4.5 million? Jared, is that
To
what you said?
$4.5 million,
To $4.5
about
million.
$500,000
About
above.
$500,000 are up, yeah. So that's a good sign for the local economy. Real estate transfer taxes were up about $100,000, which means, of course, that there's more properties buying and sold in the county. I think it's from that. Interest earnings, and this is really gratifying, and I'm grateful. Interest earnings have gone up, and we've earned about $500,000 more than we had expected. So that's when the lending rates go up, so does your savings rates. So we have a new account with S&T Bank. We're very grateful. We're going to earn 5% on that new money market account. So we're doing well in that regard. It certainly helped us with our prior deficit, turning it into a surplus. Basic education subsidies, we've reported before, went up about $500,000. So we thank the state for that. And special education was up about $92,000. And we received we've also plugged in the partial payment we received from the Eisenhower Insurance settlement. And that's not finished yet. Is that correct, Jared?
Yeah, the claim is by no means closed at this point.
Okay. Yeah, we still have a long way to go on that. We talked about
Julia, before you leave the good news on the budget, I do want to point out, particularly to the press and to the public here, that the budget for the 22-23 school year forecasted about a $3.38 million deficit. And with your $1,087,000 surplus, that's a little over almost $4.5 million swing. Jared has more details on it, and I don't want to belabor the details at this point, but the point is that the dollar swing here was significant. It wasn't just $1 million; it was, closer to $4 or $4.5 million. That we finished ahead of what we projected. So
right, it wasn't just luck; it's been discipline and hard work. So
yes,
we're real pleased that this is happening. We also talked about additional borrowing timeline. As we all know, the Federal Reserve just said that they just kept rates level. And Chairman Powell did say that there could be some rate hikes coming towards the end of the year, or maybe in winter, the upcoming winter. So we think it's probably why rates are relatively stable right now and relatively historically low. We thought that we would talk about borrowing an additional $10 million to try to finish up the Eisenhower project. So we've agreed that we would probably follow we would file the timeline proposed by Jared, so the next meeting we would vote on that, so we'd be ready for that on, what's that, October 9th? And then we could expect to have final settlement on the bonds by what,
November,
23rd you have? I guess that's,
I think they'll go out to bid then, and then final settlement will be in November. The bids will be due in October.
yeah, so that would get us in, I think, hopefully we can lock it at the current rate. So that's good, I think that's all good news. We also, surprisingly, and I think the public would be interested in hearing this, we went over the budget preparation schedule, which is kind of tricky this year. But the Department of Education is projecting that our new index would go up to 6.8%, which I found extraordinarily surprising. So do you want to talk about that just a little bit, Jared? So you have it plugged in at 5.2.
That was our rate from last year.
But you're thinking it could go up.
The new rate just came out within the past day or two at 6.8, so that's above the state average. We're not the rate that is set by the state, and then every individual school district gets an individual rate. So based on our aid ratio, which is just slightly over 50%, ours is adjusted to the 6.8.
Okay, and you're expecting us to just have to look at that on December 4th. That's the vote for the index.
Yes, it
That we
could
couldn't
be.
raise but taxes above the 6.8, which would be highly.
Yes, it could come sooner if, depending on what is decided this week on the for the primary for Pennsylvania, because the Act 1 timeline is at this point strictly driven by the PA primary.
So figure all that out. That's a tough game. Okay, so that concludes my report. So I'd like to go through 8.2 capital reserve transfer. Based on the recommendation of the Audit and Finance Committee, a transfer in the amount of $500,000 be made from the general fund to the capital reserve fund effective on June 30th, 2023.
We need to, that's just for the surplus. We need to approve also the transfer for the turf as well as for the insurance proceeds we received year to date. So that total should be $1,467,039.46. And that encompasses all three of those pieces that we talked about at Audit and Finance.
All right, $1,467,039 and some odd cents.
Yep.
Okay, moved in second. Additional questions, comment, or discussion on the budget transfer? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Motion's carried.
Okay, thank you. 8.3, a donation. I'm happy to move that the board accepts the donation from Martin's Food Stores of a box of school supplies for Eisenhower Elementary School.
Second.
Okay, moved in second. Questions, comments, or discussion on 8.3? I would also like to thank Martins for their generosity. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Bond financing, that the Board of School Directors of the Indiana Area School District does hereby authorize the administration to work with our PFM Financial Advisors LLC, Dinsmore and Scholl LLP as bond counsel, and the local solicitor in conjunction with issuance of the general obligation bond series of 2023 for the purpose of providing funds for the Eisenhower Elementary School via a competitive internet sale in the amount of $10 million.
Second.
Okay, moved in second. Questions, comments, or discussion on the potential borrowing of $10 million? Nothing heard? All those in
I'm
favor?
sorry, I'm taking a breath. I'd like to point out that we have in reserve about 15 million on account already. So this would take us to 25 million, which should be sufficient to finish Eisenhower.
We're very
Are
close.
very close.
Very close.
We won't know until the time comes.
Okay. So this is the final big piece of funding the project.
God willing.
Okay. Further questions, comments, or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
Terry Kerr registered a no.
Okay, next we have, thank you again, new 8.5 new money market account that based on the recommendation of the Audit and Finance Committee, the board approves the opening of a new money market account at S&T Bank with the current interest rate of 5%.
Second.
Okay, it's moved in second. Jared, any comments from you on this new account?
We appreciate S&T continuing to be a good partner for the district. As that 5% will help hopefully increase our interest earnings for the year.
Okay, any other questions, comments, or discussion on this item? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we're down to the closing. There are no discussion items for this evening. Is there any public comment on agenda items? Yes.
Okay, 7.3, skip.
Yeah, we skipped that. We're not ready to make that decision yet, Josh. We have a little bit of work to do, so we just took no action.
Understood, that was just for the sake of
Yep,
transparency.
yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, any other public comment? Nothing heard. We had some enclosures this evening. Senior high student activity report, treasurer's report. We did have an executive session this evening from 6 till 7. We talked about some personnel issues, the hiring of a principal, some paraeducators. We also discussed an MOU, and we did discuss the clerk of the works. Our next board meeting will be October the 9th, 2023 at 7 p.m. for general purposes. Our next committee meetings will be October 2nd for academic and extracurricular, and policy and personnel on October the 9th, both starting at 5:30. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Move.
Second? Moved in second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We stand adjourned.
Thank you.
Walker, I just want to say, my first day on the board.